Hi, everyone. Um, so I'm Claire, and I guess this assignment was really to create like a sort of a mini TED Talk. And the spirit of TED Talks, if you're not familiar with the website, is um, they got these like really smart, ridiculously educated people together, um, who were really like innovative and interesting for whatever reason, and sort of were like, okay, like give the 18-minute talk of your life. Like if you could say one thing, to sort of everybody, like get this idea out there, what would that be? What's really important to you? So that's what we're trying to do in sort of like a little like condensed version. Um, so today what I really wanted to talk about for the next few minutes is fiction writing, is what I know about how to write really compelling good fiction, and how that's affected my views as a human being and how to interact with other people. So, um, so I think like something that a lot of people don't understand about how to write fiction is how to write good, compelling characters. I think that's really the core of literary fiction. Um, I work as an editor on our school's literary magazine, and one common thread that I've seen in like pieces that get rejected or that were like, this writer's trying really hard but like it falls flat is that, their character motivation is off. That it has not been made like a really critical part of the story. Um so Robert Olin Butler does a really amazing job of explaining why character motivation, or as he sort of calls it, like the yearning, that sort of want is present in fiction. So he says, and this is his novel From Where You Dream, he says, "My favorite word in this regard, a word that you will hear often when you discuss your manuscripts, is yearning. We yearn. We are the yearning creatures of this planet. There are superficial yearnings, and there are truly deep ones always pulsing beneath, but every second we yearn for something. And fiction, inescapably, is the art form of human yearning. Yearning is always part of a fictional character. In fact, one way to understand plot is that it represents the dynamics of desire. It's the dynamics of desire that is at the heart of a narrative and plot." So, and I think he's absolutely right. If you don't have character motivation that's clear and that stems from some thread of greater emotional truth, like, you don't have a story. I think it's so easy for writers who are really, like, maybe earlier in their process to write stories that are so based on, like, the external factors of a plot, things that happen to a character, that they forget to make the story really resonate, really, like, germinate from a greater understanding of who that character is. A story that you want to read is really one of a character interacting with their surroundings, not just, okay, like, this happened to this person and this happened to this person. That's what I think is really gonna makes a story touch people on a human level. And that, at its core, is, I think, what authors aim to do. So, yeah, exactly. Like he said, if you don't have clear character motivation, if they're not yearning for something, they're not real human beings, and you're never going to get to that point where you can really touch someone's humanity. So, as Robert Olin Butler pointed out, a really key component to understanding a human life is understanding that we're always motivated by something. We always want something, no matter how small it is, or on whatever scale. So that's applicable when you're trying to understand a person that you've created in your own, like, fictional universe. And it's also applicable to trying to interact with people that are around you sort of all the time. So I think it's a really sort of an interesting paradigm when you view situations through the idea that people are always trying to get what they want. Or, settling for not getting what they want. And that, the sum of all their experiences and the sum of everything that they've been told is that yearning that, Robert Olin Butler talked about. So I think that this reminded me of one of the things that we talked a lot about in our Frome class last year, and that's, like, I think when you take situations, um, in that same sense, nobody ever does anything for no reason. Um, and so that kind of corollary reminded me of something that we talked about kind of a lot last year in our From class, and that's the idea that, like, I think when things happen, when you see people like Michael Vick fighting dogs, or like Tiger Woods's, um, sort of like serial adultery, um, I think the tendency is really to view it through the lens of like, oh my god, like how could this possibly have happened? This is so horrible. But I think once you see people through the lens of like of their motivations and of creatures that are just trying to fulfill their desires at that moment, or not at that moment, but just trying to fulfill their desires in general, um, the question then really becomes, how could this not have happened? That this yearning that they have, or that these things that they're settling for in some sense, like, they're just trying to meet their needs in whatever way they can. Um, it doesn't really mean that, behavior, whatever behavior is like permissible or is, necessarily a positive choice. But I think once you understand it that way, um, it just sheds light on the situation, and it becomes a lot harder to paint people, I think, in a black and white sense of like, here, like the Star Wars paradigm where like you have the dark side and the light side. Um, that viewpoint sheds a lot of gray, which I don't really know whether I can say that it's, makes your life easier. I don't know that I want to, because it really doesn't. But I think that hmm, I think that it, I think that it's an interesting paradigm. That's what I think. Um, so there you have it. The world as a character study and the importance of human yearning. So thank you so much for watching. Please, feel free to like ask questions, comment, agree, disagree, and be sure to watch all the other videos that our class has produced, our little mini TED Talks. Thank you.